Where do you sell your cull animals?
Oh, it's a good one.
That is a good one.
Yeah, somebody asked me about this. Like, what is Greg's criteria for like calling a cow to like get slaughtered, which is sort of a misnomer as to how we get rid of culls. How we get rid of culls is usually through the sale barn. So if we went through and we labeled how many?
13.
Because right now is the time of year you want to be looking to cull animals, because looking to cull them is, and you want to keep them around as long as they're not going to die. You want to keep them around for the spring flush because you need more mouths to eat all that grass.
You need to look at
but you need
needs to be culled.
Exactly. You need to look right now for who needs to be culled, because as Steve Campbell would say, like, they're in their work clothes right now, meaning they've at least here in Missouri at this time in the year, they've gone the longest period of time on the lowest quality forage they'll ever encounter over the course of the year. And so their condition right now is as bad as it's going to be. Not saying that the condition's bad on the animals by any stretch, but it's as bad. If it is,
it's going to happen now.
It's going to happen now. Nobody's hiding behind like really good grass, basically. You know, like you're going to see those animals and how they really perform when they're pushed. And so now is when you go through and you look for those animals that are getting thin on you and aren't performing. And those are the ones you need to mark down. And then after the spring flush, get rid of them, because you need those mouths during the spring flush. But then afterwards, we sell them to the sale barn. And it's a way of generating a little bit more cash flow from the cow mob, because, you know, it takes 2-3 years for an animal to become marketable, right? So like calf gets born, it's like, you know, 2-3 years until that calf turns into a heifer and gives you another calf, right? So that's a return on investment. And it's about 2 years until that bull becomes old enough where you're able to sell him. At least that's the way that we run it. Like a year to 2 years, the bulls will be able to be sold. But anyway, yeah. So sale barn. If we were set up for it, like if Greg had a larger proportion of his revenue generated from the cattle was through grass-fed beef, you could use some of your like still pretty decent cull animals. You don't want to be trying to slaughter something that's just a rack of bones, but if you've got something that looks halfway decent, it's got still some good meat on it, like you could, if you're set up to do it and you can get a slot, you could go get that butchered and turned into ground beef, and you're going to make a lot more money off of that than you would at a sale barn. But yeah, sale barn is how we get rid of our culls. Yeah, I'm not going to say any more because I know what you were thinking.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't going to say
that.
Does Greg try and hold on to animals over the winter preparing for the flush?
That's sort of what I was talking about.
Like he's not gonna bring an animal through the winter just for the flush if it's like something that like steers. Like he won't bring steer, only like 2 or 3 for our own consumption. He's not gonna bring, you know, a herd of 21 steers or whatever
through the winter.
But that being said, like
the culls,
we keep the culls, the bulls, a lot of the bulls, which those are bull calves from the last spring, so that's a little bit different.
But that's the sort of the deal. Is like if you're planning on getting rid of stuff, don't do it right before your grass is about to jump. Like that's when you're gonna need them. As long as they're gonna be okay. If you think they're gonna really go downhill between now and then, like obviously you got to do what you got to do. But
if you're having to feed a lot more hay just to try to keep these animals through to the spring flush,
you need to weigh that option.
You can do it, but you got to understand that that's an input you're putting into your animals. You know, like you can put money into your animals because they're gonna give you a calf that's gonna bring you, you know, more money in the end. So it's like an investment, but there's a line that you don't want to go over, because then it's like you're cutting into your profit.
You're feeding excessive amounts of hay, which means
you're not getting the advantage.
You just gotta crunch the numbers and figure out, is it worth feeding that amount of additional hay for the return I'm getting for that. Yeah. That's the thing, is like it's not a hobby. Like at least that's not what we're all about. Like some people,
it can be a hobby.
It can be a hobby, and some people love it and they don't necessarily need it to make money for them. We're focused, and I think a lot of you guys out there are also focused on like this being an actual business. And so at the end of the day, you've got to be paying attention to money in, money out with this kind of stuff, because you can get lost in the weeds pretty quickly, and then you turn around and you have nothing to show for all of your effort. So
because that's the thing. It's like, you know, we all love what like this, But in order to do what we love, we have to be able to survive doing this or live doing this. You know, like, and in order to live, we have to have enough money to be able to live. Like, it's like, you know, you have to be able to make it work for you to do it. So it can't be costing you. It has to be
making you
money if you want to do it full time.
Yep.
Which we'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Yeah.